Hi, everybody. It's Dennis Daly, welcoming you to All Week Theater. Every week I take a classic old-time radio episode, cut it up into 5 pieces, and present it for your convenient listening pleasure. Now, part 2 of the 1936 Cavalcade of America, talking about the Declaration of Independence, sponsored by DuPont.
Objection, we will dispense with the roll call, the readings of the minutes. Proceed to new business. Do I hear any objection?
Any objection, Mr. Dickinson?
No, Dr. Franklin, I'm waiting to see what new move you and your friends are planning.
The floor is open for new business. Mr. Chairman, the chair recognizes Mr. Richard Henry Lee of Virginia.
Mr. Chairman, as instructed by my colony, I move this resolution. Resolved that these united colonies are, and of right ought to be, free and independent states. That they are absolved from all allegiance to the British Crown, and that all political connections between them and the state of Great Britain is, and ought to be, totally dissolved. Gentlemen, please. Do I hear a second?
I second the resolution.
The resolution is seconded by Mr. John Adams of Massachusetts. Discussion. Question.
Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Dickinson.
This is far too important a matter to pass without proper discussion and serious consideration. I move you, sir, that Congress resolve itself into a committee of the whole to consider this resolution.
I second the motion.
Wow. Mr. Dickinson's motion is seconded by Dr. Franklin.
Why, you, Dr. Franklin, I thought we disagreed.
We do, John. But the more obstacles you put in our way, the surer we are of reaching our goal. It's one of the best traits our English heritage has given us.
Question. I'll put the question. All in favor of Mr. Dickinson's resolution? Aye.
Both sides were eager to postpone the actual vote on the resolution. But many members felt that it had a good chance of passing, and so a committee was named to draft a declaration stating the reasons for such a resolution. The committee consisted of Benjamin Franklin, John Adams, Thomas Jefferson, Roger Sherman, and Robert Livingston. Jefferson, considered by many to be the best writer in the colonies, was chosen to make the original draft. Let us visit the Gratz house on Market Street, Philadelphia, late in June. Gratz is talking with his wife.
But Mr. Jefferson hasn't come down to his supper. I think I should call him.
No, don't disturb him. Mr. Adams and Dr. Franklin are with him. There are serious matters being discussed upstairs.
Well, maybe Dr. Franklin and Mr. Adams would like some supper, too.
Must you always be thinking of food? Important plans are being made for the welfare of our country. Tom Jefferson says that some delegates have been instructed to introduce another resolution for independence this session.
Oh, you're always talking politics and worrying about the country instead of attending to your business. More members of the Continental Congress to track up my floors, I suppose.
You don't appreciate the honor they do us boarding here in our home. Someday this house will be known as a place where history was made.
You wouldn't call it an honor if you had to sweep up after them. Oh, good evening, Mr. Temple.
Good evening, Mrs. Gratz.
It's young Mr. Temple, Father.
How are you, Mr. Gratz?
Oh, come in, Mr. Phillips. Well, how can I serve you?
I was wondering if you could tell me where I could find more books or pamphlets like this Common Sense. Has Mr. Payne written any more?
I don't know, Mr. Phillips, but I'll ask Mr. Jefferson. He will know.
I'd be very grateful if you would.
Mr. Jefferson's busy now. He mustn't be disturbed. How does your father feel about your sudden interest in this kind of literature?
Father doesn't know. But I'm convinced his ideas are wrong, Mr. Gratz.
Yeah.
Our country must come first, before England or any other place. Don't you think so?
Yes, Mr. Phillips, I do think so. My parents came from Germany and settled here. They are like your father. They are always talking about the old country, but I am an American.
So am I. And our duty lies, I think, with the new country rather than the old. A place where we intend to live and bring up families. We owe it to future generations, so that they may have a happy and a better place to live in.
Meanwhile, in Jefferson's rooms, he and his colleagues, John Adams and Benjamin Franklin, are formulating the document that was to help make the country a happy and a better place.
Well, Dr. Franklin, now that you've read the draft, what do you think?
As a whole, Mr. Jefferson, I am delighted with it. But I hope you won't be offended if a much older man makes a few slight suggestions.
Certainly not, Dr. Franklin.
For instance, you say, when in the course of human events it becomes necessary for a people. Now, wouldn't one people be more significant?
Yes. Yes, one people, that's right.
And you say, we hold these truths to be sacred and undeniable. Now, I would prefer we hold these truths to be self-evident.
Self-evident is stronger.
Above all, we must be careful not to alienate any of our colonies at this time. Unless this declaration of our reasons for freedom is passed unanimously by the Continental Congress, it will utterly fail in its purpose.
You're right about that, Dr. Franklin. It must be the unanimous will of the United Colonies.
Now, I've called the colonies the United States of America. Do you like that term, Dr. Franklin?
Yes, Mr. Jefferson, I do. The United States of America. May they ever stand so.
So join me next time when I take a classic old-time radio episode and split it up into 5 easy-to-digest pieces, right here on All Week Theater.